Usually when we talk about apex predators, we're picturing something big, something with 4 legs, massive teeth.
Right, top of the food chain.
But the research we're pulling apart today from the Gunther Cox Digital Museum and some really detailed insect records, it points to a predator that's just as ferocious.
Oh, absolutely. Arguably more successful, even.
And it operates completely beneath our notice.
It's a microcosm of violence, honestly.
Mm.
If you shrink your perspective down to the forest floor, the creature we're talking about today is, well, it's like a cheetah combined with a bear trap.
A cheetah that looks like a gemstone. We are looking at Cicindela sexgutta.
The six-spotted-tiger-beetle.
And what struck me immediately is just going through the Gunther Cox archives is the visual dissonance. You see this insect, and it's one of the most beautiful things in the North American woods.
It really is.
But every single aspect of its biology is geared toward, well, lethal efficiency.
That's the classic trade-off in the insect world, isn't it? You either hide or you advertise. And this beetle is definitely advertising something.
So let's start with that advertisement. The visual profile here is just stunning.
Mm-hmm.
The source material describes it as this metallic green to metallic blue-green. It's not a pigment, right? It's structural color.
Exactly. It's iridescence. So it's the light refracting off the microscopic structure of the exoskeleton.
So depending on the angle of the sun.
It can shift from a deep emerald to a sapphire blue. It's so distinctive that even a casual hiker will just stop when they see one.
But here's the interesting thing about that color. While it stands out to us, on a forest floor with dappled sunlight,
it can actually work as camouflage. It's a form of disruptive camouflage against all the moss and the leaves.
That brings us to the name, the taxonomy, and honestly a bit of a controversy there.
You could say that.
Cicindela sexgutta. Sex meaning six, guttata meaning spots.
6 spots.
But looking at the field data, that name feels optimistic, not really a rule.
It's a guideline at best. This is just a prime example of what we call phenotypic plasticity.
Where the physical expression of the genes is?
All over the place. It varies wildly between individuals.
The variation is huge. I mean, you'd expect, based on the name, to see 6 little white spots on the elytra the wing covers.
That's the idea.
But the records show a complete spectrum. I was looking at photos of specimens with 8 spots. 4 spots.
And quite a few with none at all.
Absolutely 0.
That's the immaculate form. And it trips up amateur naturalists constantly. You see that green chassis, you look for the spots to confirm the ID, and poof, they're not there.
But it's the same beetle.
Genetically, it's the same beetle. It just goes to show you that nature really doesn't care about our neat little taxonomic boxes.
It's a reminder that a species description is an average, not a contract. Okay, so despite the spot variation, the silhouette is pretty consistent. These are not big insects.
No.
The data puts them at, what, 12 to 14 millimeters?
About 1/2 inch, yeah.
But it's the posture that gives them away. The sources describe these long, kind of spindly legs, a high stance.
Mm-hmm.
They don't look like they're crawling. They look like they're ready to bolt.
That high stance is crucial. It's an athletic build. Think about most beetles, like a June bug or something.
Right, like a little tank.
They're built like tanks. Low, slow, heavily armored. The tiger beetle is built like a sprinter. It trades some of that heavy defensive armor for just pure speed.
And then, of course, there's the business end, the mandibles.
Oh, yeah.
The Gunther Cox description calls them ferocious, which feels like an understatement. When you look at the macro photos, they overlap.
They do. They're sickle-shaped, large, and they're often toothed on the inner edge. In the world of arthropod mechanics, these aren't just for eating.
They're for crushing.
Exactly. They're designed to crack the coatinous armor of other insects.
So you have this stark contrast, this iridescent jewel-toned body, and then these massive white, almost bone-colored jaws crossed in front of its face.
It's a very clear don't touch me signal. And it works. I mean, even for humans. They are technically harmless to us, no venom or anything.
But if you pick one up,
If you handle one, those mandibles are strong enough to give you a pretty noticeable pinch. They are defensive weapons as much as offensive ones.
Okay, so let's move to where these things actually operate. The range maps are fascinating. We're looking at a huge swath of North America.
It's a big range. Minnesota, Quebec, all the way down to Texas. They seem incredibly adaptable to different temperature gradients.
They are. But did you notice the gap in the southern data?
The Florida Panhandle exclusion.
That jumped right out at me. Despite being in all the neighboring regions, that feels incredibly specific.
It is. And the sources don't give a definitive smoking gun reason, but you can infer a lot based on their biology. Biogeography usually comes down to two things: competition or substrate.
And I was thinking substrate, the soil itself.
You too.
Because their life cycle is so dependent on digging burrows. And the Florida Panhandle is famous for that loose sugar sand soil.
Precisely. If you're a larva trying to maintain a vertical structural tunnel for a year or more, loose sand is a complete nightmare. It just collapses.
Whereas the clay-heavy soils or the compacted loam you find on a forest floor in, say, Virginia or Ohio, that would hold a tunnel shape much better.
That's the most likely hypothesis. They just can't build their childhood homes there, so the population hits a hard geographic wall.
And it shows how fragile a species range can be. It could just come down to the grain size of the dirt.
Yeah.
Speaking of dirt, their habitat preference within these forests is also really interesting. They aren't deep cover operatives.
Not at all.
The sources all call them sun lovers. You find them on trails, dirt paths, fallen logs.
This is all about thermodynamics. Insects are ectothermic. They rely on external heat to regulate their metabolism.
So they need to warm up.
And for a high-performance predator like a tiger beetle, room temperature isn't enough. They need to be hot to be fast.
So the dirt path on a trail, it's acting like a solar collector.
Exactly. A patch of bare earth in a sunbeam gets way hotter than the surrounding leaf litter.
Right.
So by patrolling these illuminated strips, the beetle keeps its body temperature in the optimal range for rapid firing of its leg muscles.
They're basically solar-powered sprint machines.
That's a great way to put it.
Which explains why hikers see them so often. We're using the trails for walking.
And they're using the trails as a heating pad and a hunting ground. And it creates a perfect ambush zone. Think about it. The contrast makes prey easier to spot.
Oh, sure. An ant crosses that bright patch of dirt.
It's a black silhouette against a light background. Easy pickings.
So let's talk about that hunting capability. The outline lists them as voracious, and the diet is pretty broad: ants, spiders, caterpillars.
Basically, if it moves and it's smaller than the beetle, it's on the menu.
They're opportunistic carnivores.
But it's the hunting style that sets them apart. Most beetles are foragers or scavengers. Tiger beetles are pursuit predators. They run their prey down.
And the speed is incredible. I've read in other places that, relative to their body size, they're some of the fastest animals on Earth.
They are. In fact, they run so fast that their own visual processing system can't keep up.
What do you mean?
They effectively go blind during a full sprint.
The photoreceptors in their eyes can't absorb enough light for their brains to process the image.
So that's why they do that stop-and-go motion. You see them sprint, freeze, reorient, and then sprint again.
Right. They run toward the movement, stop to see where the prey actually went, and then they adjust. It's this very chaotic, high-energy way to hunt. And when they catch up, snap.
Those overlapping mandibles.
They make short work of an ant.
It's a high-energy lifestyle. But what's interesting is the social dynamic, or, well, the lack of one.
Right.
The sources all emphasize they are not gregarious. You might see 10 of them on a trail, but they are not a pack.
No, they're strictly solitary. If you see a group, it's just because that particular patch of real estate is prime territory. It's like seeing a bunch of fishermen on the same pier.
They're not friends.
They're not friends. They're just all where the fish are. And they're probably competing with each other, too, chasing each other off.
Okay, this brings us to the part of the deep dive that really shifted my perspective on them. The life cycle.
Ah, yes.
Because up until now, we've been talking about the adult, the shiny green thing we see in the spring. But that's just the final act of a very long play.
It is. The adult phase is the glory lap. The real work happens underground.
The timeline mentioned in the records is staggering, a total lifespan of just under 5 years. For a beetle.
It's wild, isn't it? In a world where we're used to insects living for a few weeks or a single season, this beetle is playing the long game.
Let's break down those 5 years. It starts with an egg, laid in sandy patches. But then we get to the larval stage. And the larva looks nothing like the adult.
Nothing at all. It's this grub-like creature with a heavily armored head and huge jaws, and it digs that vertical burrow we mentioned earlier.
This is the ambush phase. The adult runs things down, but the larva is a sit-and-wait predator.
It's a living trap. The larva sits at the very top of its burrow, with its flat head acting like a little manhole cover. It blends in perfectly with the soil.
And the mechanics of this are terrifying. I was looking at the anatomical descriptions. They have these special hooks on their abdomen.
Yes, on the 5th abdominal segment, they're often called S-hooks. They dig those right into the wall of the tunnel. It's an anchoring system.
So if a large spider or a strong ant walks over the hole, the larva lunges out, grabs it.
And the hooks prevent the prey from just pulling the larva right out of the ground.
It's an immovable anchor point.
It is. It allows them to tackle prey that might be stronger than they are. They snatch it and drag it down into the dark to consume it.
And they do this for years.
Up to 3 years, sometimes more, depending on the climate and food availability. They have to survive multiple winters down there.
That's the part that gets me. How does a soft-bodied larva survive a freeze in, say, Minnesota?
They have to go deep. As the frost line drops, the larva has to extend that burrow further and further down, below the freezing point. They enter a state of diapause.
Which is like insect hibernation.
Essentially, they shut down their metabolism and just wait for the soil to warm up.
It's such a high-stakes gamble. Every single winter is a filter. If they don't dig deep enough, or if they run out of energy, they die.
To make it to the adult stage, they have to win that coin toss 3 or 4 times in a row.
And avoid being dug up by a badger or parasitized by a wasp. The mortality rate must be immense.
It is. And that's why seeing an adult Cicindela sexcutata is actually kind of significant. You aren't just looking at a bug.
You're looking at a survivor.
You're looking at a survivor.
Yeah.
That beetle has beaten the odds for half a decade.
It puts their conservation status into perspective. NatureServe lists them as secure, which usually just translates to common. But knowing the struggle of their life cycle, that stability is impressive.
It really speaks to the resilience of their strategy. Despite the specific soil needs and the long development time, they are thriving. Generalist predators usually do well.
Because they're not picky eaters.
Exactly. As long as there are ants and spiders around, the tiger beetle has a full menu.
And the deciduous forests of North America, while fragmented, are still abundant enough to support them.
Right. They don't need pristine, untouched wilderness. They just need a patch of woods and a dirt path. They're very compatible with light human disturbance.
So our hiking trails might actually be helping them.
In a way, yeah, by creating those sunny hunting corridors.
That's a nice twist. We usually talk about human infrastructure destroying habitat, but in this specific micro case, we're accidentally building highways for them.
We are the road crew for the Tiger Beetle Express.
I like that. So we've got this fierce, long-lived, sun-loving, genetically variable predator living right under our feet. It really challenges the way you look at a walk in the woods.
It changes the resolution, We tend to look at the macro beauty, the trees, the birds, the views. But the micro beauty and the micro violence are just as intense.
A hidden Serengeti.
It really is.
Yeah.
You have the herbivores, the grazers, and then you have the lions. And the tiger beetle is the lion of that dirt path. It's a top-tier predator in its weight class.
And the fact that they are secure means you can actually go out and find them without worrying that you're disturbing a fragile population.
Exactly. They are accessible.
Yeah.
You don't need a permit or a guide. You just need to look down.
I think the most sticking point for me, going all the way back to the beginning, is that name, sexcutata. The six-spotted beetle that might have 0 spots.
It feels like a lesson, doesn't it?
It does, a lesson in observation.
It teaches us to look past the label. If you rely strictly on the textbook definition of 6 spots, you'll miss half the population. You have to look at the behavior, the movement, that iridescent color.
The whole organism, not just a checklist of features.
It's nature refusing to simplify itself for our benefit. And that diversity is what keeps them secure. If they were all identical clones, a single disease could wipe them out. That messy genetic variation is their insurance policy.
So here's the takeaway for you if you're listening. Next time you're on a hike, stop looking at the trees for a minute.
Look at the trail.
Look for that flash of metallic green. Watch how it moves, that sprint and stop behavior.
And if you can get close enough without spooking it, which is a challenge, try to count the spots.
See if you can find an immaculate one. Or an 8-spotted one.
And just realize that you're looking at a creature that has been fighting for its life for 5 years just to stand on that sunny patch of dirt.
It's a little living jewel with a hell of a backstory.
Couldn't have said it better. It's a small world, but it's fierce.
Thanks for diving deep with us today. Keep your eyes on the ground, and we'll catch you on the next one.